What's my problem? I don't know. Disappointment of the year, of the decade. That book was crazy. And I loved it. Well, I had the urge to finally do the mid-year book Freakout Tag, so we're gonna give it a go. The background's a little chaotic. I paused a YouTube video that was on and whatever. The lighting's a little weird, but if you wait for everything to be perfect, you're not gonna do it, right? Or I wouldn't. So, we're gonna go with what we got. And we're gonna try to stare at the camera and not my own face. I started over. If the background looks readjusted, it is because I deleted what I recorded so far and I'm starting again. So, I have everything written down. And I think these are the questions. Pretty sure they're the questions that I've been seeing answered. So, some iteration of the mid-year book Freakout Tag is happening here. Okay, the best book so far, I think my favorite book of the year so far, because we're July 1, so we're right in the middle, is Lost in the Moment and Found, and that's by Shauna McGuire. It's the 8th? Don't quote me on that. 8th book in the Wayward Children series, and that's a series that I really enjoy. It's basically about, if you don't know what it's about children that go to a home because they at some point fell into a world that they weren't supposed to be in, but it actually fits them really well. So kind of like Narnia or something like that. They're falling into this world and then they're adjusting to life coming back. So every book is either a part of the home where they're adjusting to being back or a story about the world they were in. And this one was a story about the world that the little girl was in. And I read it a little while ago, so I don't remember many of the details. I just remember really loving it. And I listened to it on audiobook. And audiobook for any of these books in this series has been wonderful. So I highly recommend it. And I think that was my favorite so far. That's what we're going to go with. I've read way less books. I should say that. I've read way less books than I did last year so far, and that was intentional. I was trying to read longer books. Ironically, that book's super short, but my goal was to read longer books, so I cut back the number of books that I wanted to read because I was feeling like I was trying to get to a book count, and to do that, it was a lot faster to get there with shorter books, if that makes sense. So I cut back the numbers of books that I want to read with the intention of reading longer books, and I think I have, kind of. But also, I just really like a short book. Okay, question number 2 is the sequel, the best sequel so far, and that's honestly the same. There was a few I could have chosen. I ended up rearranging it. Excuse me. Whoops. Burping. Anyway, there was a few that I could have picked. I tried to make it so that other ones fit other categories. So this first 2 are the only 2 that are the same. And then some answers that could fit here, I decided to place somewhere else. So Lost in the Moment and Found, again, is still, honestly, it's probably my favorite, one of my favorites of that whole series so far. And it stood up to the high expectations, which means it's even better. So a new release that I really want to read is, I actually have this, and I didn't explain this before. I should have explained this. I don't have a lot of the physical copies of the books I'm talking about. 1 is because they may have been an audiobook, and 2 is because I tend to either rent them from the library, or I get rid of them once I read them. I'm not the kind of person that keeps a book once I read it unless I really, really, really loved it. So most of the books that I've read, I actually get rid of on Pango Books or something. Because this question is, which ones haven't you read? I've got plenty. So this is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. In my head, I've decided that T. Kingfisher is one of my favorite authors, even though I've only read 1 of their books. I think their pronouns are she, her. I think I've looked that up before, but I always feel inclined to say they when it's initials. Wait, let me check. Yeah, she. I think her name is Ursula. Have we talked about this already? I forget. Anyway, she's cool, and I'm obsessed with her, even though I've only read one of her books. And I need to read more. Look, it's not even long. Why haven't I read it? I don't know. What's my problem? I don't know. That's a big one. Another one is probably Yellowface. That's really popular right now. But honestly, I'm trying to read the books I already have. So, unless it shows up magically with no waitlist on my Libby app, which is not going to happen, then I probably not going to read it anytime soon. If you follow me on Instagram, I posted a big picture of all the books that I haven't read yet. And there's like 50 of them that are physical books, not Kindle books. That's like quadruple. So we're gonna read what we have. Next question. Most anticipated. My most anticipated book. This was hard, and I don't know why it was hard, because I'm usually like looking forward to a lot of books. I was thinking maybe the Mona Awad book, what else is coming out, and I was looking through it, and honestly there isn't anything coming out that I'm like, oh my god, can't wait for that, which is strange. Like, are we in like a book publishing slump right now? Because I wasn't like obsessed with anything that was coming out. But one that I did remember that sounded kind of cool, and I don't know when it's actually coming out, is A Haunting on a Hill. I forget who the author of that is, Elizabeth something. I put all the authors on my phone, but I'm filming on my phone, so not helpful for me. A Haunting on a Hill is an approved sequel to A Haunting of Hill House, which I never actually read, but I was obsessed with the movie, or the TV show. And I know that the TV show and the book are not like identical at all, and that's okay. I just love the vibes of the TV show. And so I feel like a more modern book sequel to that might be more my thing. But I'm excited, and I will probably read it. So that's what I'm anticipating. I don't know when it's coming out. I didn't look. Probably should have looked. I wrote them down. I wrote everything down. So like that counts as preparing. What book was I most disappointed by this year? And this is the reason I honestly wanted to make this video. This is attempt number 3 because I have not been able to coherently put my thoughts together for how disappointed I was in Gone Girl. What was that? Like, I could have a spoiler rant, which I kind of ended up going into, which is why I just deleted the last clip, because like, I hated the end of that book. We don't have to get into it. Maybe I'll do another blog or another video where I just talk about how much I didn't like Gone Girl. I feel like I'm too far away from it now because I had so many thoughts while I was reading it, and I was like, no. Every time I heard, I was like, no, no, no. That was me. No, no. Like, first chunk of the book is just nitpicking and nagging and nagging and nitpicking, and it made me anxious. And I know a thriller's not supposed to make you comfortable. I know that. But it was like obnoxious. I was like, this is not fun to read. Like, it's not annoying in a fun way. They're not evil in a fun way. You know how main characters can be unlikable, but you still like want to know the story? They were so unlikable that I probably would have DNF'd it if I didn't think the whole world thought this book was amazing. I was like, what is the magic secret sauce of this book that everybody loves so much? I need to just finish it so I can know. Maybe the end is like amazing, mind-blowing. No, it wasn't. Don't read it. So that was one of the super long books that I decided was worth cutting my number of books down to read, because I was like, it's so long. And then I was like, not worth it. I have a couple things about it that I didn't like that are spoilers, so I'll leave that. But the main characters, maybe it's just not up with the times. Like, maybe when this came out. No, because honestly, I remember looking at the back of the book. Or, that's not true, because I didn't have the book, the audio. I remember looking at the publishing date, being like, maybe if this was published in 2005, it's like, okay, that's an interesting way. Maybe it was like pushing it. Maybe it was an interesting way to portray a woman. But it wasn't 2005. It was way more recent than that. And I don't remember exactly, but I remember thinking, like, that is too recent to be talking about women like this and to be talking about men like this. Don't do it. I have so much more to say. Don't do it. Disappointment of the year, of the decade. Maybe that's too harsh. No, but I was really thinking, I'm like, and I like what's her face. What's her name? Oh. The author. Didn't write the authors down. I totally know her name. And I know it because people think it's pronounced one way and it's pronounced the other way. Anyway, cool ideas. Sharp Objects was a great TV show. Gone Girl, dude. Like, interesting idea, but so not worth a million pages of blah, 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 whine and complain. Sorry. We're going back to the positive. And this is a little controversial, maybe. Because a lot of people have different opinions about this book. But I think the question is, what was the biggest surprise read so far this year? And my biggest surprise read was How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I was so excited to read this because I love a haunted house. I love a haunted house. A haunted house is probably, well, horror is like my favorite, and then haunted houses are like my favorite. So I was like, I'm ready. I haven't read any Grady Hendrix. My mom really liked some of the stuff he did because he's kind of like camp. It's like funny, campy horror. It's like Goosebumps for adults. I don't know. But I loved it. I totally see why people would not love it. Because you go into that book and you're thinking Haunting of Hill House. You're thinking, I don't know, just haunted house story, right? Classic, creepy. No, that's not what that book was about. And I don't want to spoil it. I'm sure the internet has probably spoiled it a little bit. That book was crazy. And I loved it. That book was so weird. Honestly, okay. Grady Hendrix, this is what you gotta do. I know what you gotta do. I know what you should have done. One, marketing, bad. But maybe you thought if you marketed it the way that you were supposed to, nobody would read it. Maybe that's what you thought. That's fair. But I think people went into it thinking something else. What you could have done, the brothers' background story made me feel like I had no idea what reality was. The brother's story when he goes to college, this isn't a spoiler, it's just kind of like set up. But there's a brother and a sister, great dynamic, brother-sister dynamic, fascinating. But the brother's background could have been a short story by itself. Dude, that would have been, like, you didn't need anything else. You're just like, this is me, my life, all this stuff happens. That was crazy. And I get it, and that's the kind of weird, like, you're going crazy. Like, that's the kind of horror that I like, is when you're, like, confused, and you're like, this is so twisted. Like, House of Leaves, like, what the heck? We're upside down, and I don't know which way's up, and that kind of stuff. And that's what they did. That's what he did. He made it funny. He made it super weird. And some of it, I was like, I don't care. Like, action in a horror novel, I don't care. There was, like, fighting scenes, I don't care. But the weird factor, especially the brother, it was like the characters. The brother and the sister. I was invested in them. There were parts of it where I was like, I think I gave it a 4.5. Because there were parts of it where I was like, no. But the brother's story was so wild. And I feel like people might read it and be like, what are you talking about? But there are people that will get it, and those people will be my people. And they will be like, yes. And I will be like, we are friends. That is the epitome of the surprise of the year. Because, like, what the heck was that? But in a good way. And I don't know if I want to read his other books because I don't know if any of them appeal to me, but I'll keep an eye out. Like, if he makes more, writes more, I'll be like, okay, what's this about? For me, it's less about the author and it's way more about the topic. Like a haunted house, I will read every haunted house book. So far, it's worked out great. Okay, we got a couple more questions, and I ranted for a little bit, so we're going to maybe do a little bit of a speed round. But, who is my favorite author so far? I think my favorite author this year is Ian Reid. And I've heard people say Ian Reid, so I'm pretty sure it's Ian. If it's not Ian, I'll double check. I'm pretty sure it's just Ian Reid. He wrote We Spread, and that was a book where, kind of like I said before, you feel real upside down. You're like, what's real, what's not real? I'm so lost in this person's head. I don't know what reality is. Obsessed. It was just so good. That's what I love. And I really need to read his other stuff. I have Things Have Gotten... No, that's not him at all. What's the other one? I think We're Going to End Things. Something Ending Things. Something about I turn on the camera and my brain just get gone. Out of here. You know what I mean. You're probably screaming. You're like, duh, it's this. And I know. I should know the answer. I should know what it is. But he's been awesome. I need to read that. I've been dying to read it. I started maybe like the first 10 pages and it was good. And I just haven't gone back to it yet. And I'm thinking of ending things. That's what I want to read. And he has another book, Foe, and he might have others, and I really like his style of, like, this is weird, I don't know what's happening. It was really good. Did I have a book that made me cry? No. Nothing I don't think made me cry. Which is weird, because I usually I like a sad book. I like a creepy sad book, but nothing made me cry. Did anything make me happy? Happy? I guess A Court of Mist and Fury made me happy because it was, like, kind of fun. And, like, what? This is going this way? Oh my gosh. I'm not a big fantasy girly. I'm not a big fantasy person. But the ACOTAR series has been fun to read. And mostly what I like about it is that I have a lot of friends that are reading it. So it's really fun to, like, share reading and knowing the story and being like, oh my gosh, this happened, what? So Court of Mist and Fury, I guess, made me happy. Everything else I read is, like, sad. Like, Lost in the Moment and Found did not make me happy. Most of the horror books I read don't make me happy. Gone Girl didn't make me happy. Gone Girl made me mad. Most beautiful book of the year? I don't have... I just looked. I don't feel drawn to the covers of any books that came out this year that I have. Like, this is a good cover. I love green. Nettle and Bone, I don't think that came out in 2023 though. But that I have, these are 2022. Well, is it even 2022? What am I even saying? This is 2021. Slewfoot? Look at this. This is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life. And the author painted it himself. Like, you don't get to be an amazing artist and an amazing writer. Like, you pick one. Just kidding. But this one's gorgeous. I don't think I'm following the prompt, but oh well. And then this is probably the other prettiest book that I have. I just think that is, I have like a style. I have a style that I like, I think. This is hand-painted portraits. Aww. Those didn't come out this year, but I think they're pretty. We've made it to the last question. Thanks for listening to all the chaos and the rambling and the feelings. Subscribe if you want. Or don't. But do. Or don't. Whatever. But the last question is, what are you still waiting to read? I'm waiting to read so many things. These, again, are not releases from 2023. I don't know if that's the question, but these are just things that I'm waiting to read now. I have started, and I'm halfway through Pen Pal. How long have I been halfway through it? Probably since January. Halfway through. Why I have so many. I have confessions. I'm like, I read the first chapter, the crazy first chapter that has the like crazy first chapter ending, and then I stopped. I wasn't like, tell me more. I was like, that's the end. So confessions I need to read. Pen Pal I need to read. Those books I just showed you that are pretty slewfoot, I didn't even read it. I need to read that. House with Good Bones I need to read. Pachinko. Pachinko is the reason I decided to read less books this year and make room for longer books. I haven't touched it. Sorry, Pachinko. I've heard you're beautiful. You're a beautiful story. And I just can't pick you up, and I don't know why. I'm like looking up at my other books. I'm halfway through, or not halfway, I'm like 2 chapters into that one with the scissors on the cover. I have my glasses on because I took them off so there wasn't glare. In my dreams I hold a knife. I'm halfway through in my dreams I hold a knife. Golden Couple, would love to read it. The It Girl, won that on a Goodreads giveaway. Did I read it? No. I'm thinking of Ending Things. Dying to read that. My Annihilation. That sounds cool. I still need to read that. In a Dark Dark Woods, still need to read that. Literally need to read everything. Everything I have, I should read it. And that's the story. Jeez. Thank you so much for watching my mid-year book Freakout Tag. That's like such a long thing to say. Every time I have like a long sentence or a title or something that I know I need to say in that specific order, my tongue just goes blah, 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 blah. But thank you for watching, and let me know if you have answers to some of these questions, and let me know what your favorite book that you've read so far is, and let me know if you like Gone Girl, because like, not my thing. I think I gave it 3 stars just for the sake of like, you did something important that people liked, but whatever, I'm gonna stop talking about that. And I do still love that author, I promise. I just didn't like Gone Girl. Tell me how much I need to read this book so that I will actually read it. I need you to yell at me to read this book, because why have I not read it? I've heard it's beautiful. But yeah, I've said but yeah 4 times now, so that's gonna be the end of the video. If you like this video, you can like it, you can subscribe, and let's hope that I put this up soon so that it's still the middle of the year when you're watching it. See you next time. Bye.